The story begins with the introduction of a sword family that dominates half of the world, the Runcandel family. They are a renowned sword family whose members are born with a strong physique and exceptional talent, having ruled over the world with overwhelming force. They specialize in three aspects of power: combat, conquest, and control. These three virtues, the law of the jungle, are everything to the family into which the MC was born. Jin Runcandel, the youngest son of the Runcandel family. When it was time for the selection ceremony, where each child's future is predicted, Jin chose the patriarch's sword. He was the child destined to become the patriarch. After Jin chose the sword, a shadowy figure exclaimed that he chose Borosada, the founder's sword and the symbol of the Runcandel family. The MC thought that his future would only be full of success and fame as well. But to his disappointment, he had zero talent in swordsmanship. Everyone was shocked to see his swordsmanship skills, which didn't make any sense, as someone from the Runcandel family should have more talent in swordsmanship than a normal person. People started to call him names such as the Runcandel's embarrassment and the Runcandel's disgrace. He was someone far below average in the Runcandel family, the worst dunce of the Runcandels. From a distance, someone called out to Jin with his name to get his attention, and then exclaimed if Jin was still swinging that useless wooden sword again. The black-haired guy next to the white-haired one told him to leave Jin be and continued to mock him, stating that Jin doesn't want to wield a sword unless it's a special sword. They kept on mocking him, wondering where that special sword could be. The black-haired guy continued and asked where the Borosada was and why Jin was swinging that wooden sword. Exhausted from swinging the wooden sword, Jin couldn't say anything and stayed speechless. The white-haired guy walked towards Jin and asked him why he wasn't answering them. The white-haired guy pulled back his leg while stating that his almighty brothers were asking him a question, and kicked Jin in the stomach with powerful force, flopping Jin to the ground, holding his stomach in pain. They continued mocking him, calling him a useless bastard. Jin looked back at his wooden sword while the two brothers were on opposite sides of him. Jin tried to reach for the wooden sword, but was interrupted by the brother who exclaimed, "Why Jin even bother to swing that thing as it's pointless," while stomping on his hands. The MC, with a painful expression, groaned in pain as his hands got stomped on top of the sword. The black-haired brother picked up a pile of paper, laughing and asking if the papers contained the basic swordsmanship theory. He continued, stating if the MC thought studying a bit of swordsmanship theory would make Jin any less useless. The white-haired brother, while holding his wooden swords, stated that this is why guys who are useless should never be given any chances, as he started to break it in half. The MC asked them to stop and give his stuff back to him, but the brothers didn't listen and both of them took hold of his sword and theory papers, telling Jin that because if chances are given to him, he fails to know his place and keeps on holding onto hope, as they ripped his papers and broke his sword. The MC was shattered seeing his belongings being broken and ripped to shreds. The MC mumbled, stating that they didn't need to do that, but the white-haired brother grabbed his hair and pulled back on it, stating that they were doing all of this for his sake and asking why he keeps on talking back. The black-haired brother asked if that was what his nanny taught him to do. The MC shouted at them, stating that Gilly, his nanny, has nothing to do with any of this. The brothers, still not satisfied with what they had done, stated that Jin is still defying them and they need to teach him a good lesson on manners. His brother's bullying and his pathetic, non-existent talent. The NC doesn't care about them at all. He just needs to work hard, and if he worked hard, then he'll eventually receive recognition from his family and become part of the Runcandels. That was what he truly believed. The scene changes, and the MC gets banished from the family. Since his efforts were commendable, they will spare his life. That was how Jin got banished from the family at the age of 25 and started wandering around aimlessly. That was around the time when he met Master, and that's when he knew that he did have talent. Not just that, but the very thing the Runcandel family considered taboo, magic, which Jin had talent for. 3 years after that, the MC started casting a spell where he connects the mana that exists in nature and the magician's mana to recover mana. And after that, strengthening the mana that will be manifested. All of a sudden, a black aura surrounds him, leaving Jin baffled by what he's witnessing. A voice mumbles behind him, which makes Jin turn around and ask who they are. The shadowy figure states that his name is Soldert, the master of all shadows. Soldert states the MC's name, Jin Runcandel, and proposes a contract to Jin as the god of shadows. Soldert explains that if Jin makes a contract with him, not only will he be able to use shadow energy, he will also be able to negate all curses. While stating this, Soldert checks Jin's body for curses and finds that he's got a curse on him, which he tells Jin that someone had held a grudge against him since his childhood, and that he hasn't been able to use his full potential due to a trivial curse known as bladed illusion, which suppresses talent for the blade. It is a terrible curse to place on a Runcandel, as they are known for their talent with the sword. This might have been the reason why Soldert was so captivated by Jin. Soldert removes the curse from the MC, stating that from this moment forth, there will be no curse that can bring harm to him anymore. All that's left is for him to become an extraordinary magic swordsman. With this, Soldert left, and the MC, with pure joy, grabbed his swords and ran out of the house, unsheathing his swords and swinging them around. As he held his sword high, he remembered what Soldert had said, and every time he picked up his sword, he was able to reach new heights. As Jin swung his sword, he felt how light the sword was, as if it didn't have any weight to it whatsoever. Now that he could wield a sword properly and knows how to use magic, he is able to use it while wielding a sword. Finally, his hard work paid off. As he swung his sword, a group of soldiers stared in his direction. And in the next moment, Jin was buried underneath a stone slab, his body slowly feeling numb. He tried asking for help, but no one was around to help him. Jin couldn't believe that he died while sleeping and asked if it were because he was useless after all. He continued asking why he didn't have the chance to use the magic power of Soldert that he had finally obtained, and if it was going to be like this, why he was given a chance. As his eyes closed and darkness enveloped him. The next moment, Jin could see a pair of baby hands touching the ground and the people of the family. He didn't get what was going on, as he definitely died. "Cheer up, young master," exclaimed Gilly, which confused Jin even more as he didn't know why she was here. As he looked in front of him, he saw a bunch of swords sticking down to the ground. But out of all of them, he noticed the Borosada, which made Jin realize that this is the selection ceremony. The MC returned to the past as the 1-year-old baby Jin Runcandel. He picked Borosada by chance in his previous life, but in this life, he will choose it intentionally.